You ever notice how the moment a woman stops chasing, everything starts chasing her? How the moment she pulls back her energy, people suddenly pay attention. There's a quiet power in disconnection, one most women don't even realize they possess. Because we've been conditioned to believe that connection means control, that love means losing yourself, that care means constantly proving your worth. But the truth? The moment a woman learns to detach, not with anger, not with ego, but with peace, she becomes untouchable. Her silence speaks louder than her words, her calmness shakes more than her confrontation, and her absence echoes longer than her presence ever did. Men can't resist that kind of woman, because that kind of woman doesn't need to be chosen. She already chose herself. Detachment is power, not coldness. Most people mistake a woman's calm for indifference, her silence for arrogance, or her distance for disinterest. But what they often fail to see is that behind that quiet exterior is a woman who has learned to master herself. She no longer reacts to every emotion or responds to every noise around her. She's not running, she's not hiding, she's choosing, and choice is where her strength lives. Because detachment isn't about shutting down, it's about standing firm. It's the ability to care deeply without losing yourself in the process. A woman who can walk away without bitterness doesn't do so because she's heartless. She does it because she's healed. She understands that peace is worth more than chaos disguised as connection. She no longer bargains for attention or sacrifices her dignity to keep someone close. When she leaves, she doesn't leave to prove a point. She leaves because she finally realizes she doesn't have to fight to be seen. And that realization, that quiet awareness, is magnetic. It draws people in, especially men, because emotional composure is rare. It's not born from apathy, but from self-respect. There's a deep, unspoken energy that surrounds a woman who's learned to detach. You can feel it when she walks into a room. She's not competing, she's not performing, she's simply being. And that presence commands attention without ever demanding it. Men sense that balance instinctively. They're drawn to it not because she's distant, but because she's centered. Her peace challenges them in ways they can't explain. It makes them want to rise to her level, to understand her calm, to be near what they can't control. That's what makes her irresistible. Not her looks, not her words, but her emotional discipline. True detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop fearing your feelings. You let things flow through you without letting them define you. You can love without losing yourself, give without being drained, and walk away without hating. That's real strength. Because control isn't about manipulating others. It's about mastering your reactions. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to hold on and when to release. And the more a woman practices this, the more radiant she becomes, because nothing drains her energy anymore. She lives from a place of choice, not reaction. When a woman detaches, she reclaims her emotional sovereignty. She's no longer at the mercy of someone else's behavior. Her peace is no longer negotiable, and that's what makes her powerful. Because power is calm, not loud. Power doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't prove, it is. So when you see a woman who walks away quietly, don't mistake her calm for weakness. That's not detachment out of coldness. It's detachment out of confidence. It's a woman who finally understands that she doesn't need to control anyone because she already controls herself. And that kind of woman? She doesn't just change how others see her, she changes how the world moves around her. The less you chase, the more you attract. There's something magnetic about a woman who no longer runs after attention, who no longer stretches herself thin to be noticed. You can feel the difference instantly. Her energy shifts. She stops trying to prove her worth and instead lives from it. When a woman stops chasing, she begins to glow differently because her focus moves from them to her. That's when attraction becomes natural, not forced. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being grounded in such deep self-assurance that others can't help but take notice. Chasing always comes from a place of lack. It says, I need something outside of me to feel enough. And people can sense that. Energy doesn't lie. The more you try to hold on, the faster it slips away. When you stop running after people, opportunities, or validation, you send a different message to the world. I'm whole on my own. That calm confidence is irresistible. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. The moment you stop needing something to complete you, you become complete. And in that wholeness, everything meant for you starts finding its way toward you effortlessly. A woman who no longer chases becomes a mirror. She reflects back to others what they are missing within themselves. Her peace makes people restless because it exposes how easily they give their power away. When she no longer reaches out to prove herself, when she no longer reacts to every delay or disappointment, she becomes untouchable. Men feel that energy. They sense it even in her silence. She's not waiting to be chosen. She's choosing herself every day. And that quiet certainty draws people in far more than any effort ever could. This doesn't mean she's cold or indifferent. It means she's learned the difference between connection and attachment. Connection flows freely. It's two complete energies meeting in balance. Attachment clings. It's one trying to hold the other tight enough to feel safe. When a woman stops chasing, she moves from attachment to connection. She lets things come naturally, without forcing, without convincing, without fear. She becomes more peaceful, and ironically, that's what makes her most captivating. Her calmness whispers what chasing never could. I don't need you, but I value what's real. There's deep beauty in letting go of the chase. It's not about ignoring people or pretending not to care. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you no longer seek external proof of it. It's about trusting that what's meant for you won't require you to exhaust yourself to keep it. The less you chase, the more you attract. Not because the world suddenly changes, but because you do. You start to move differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with quiet assurance. That shift makes everything around you respond differently too. It's not magic, it's energy. And energy, when rooted in peace, draws everything aligned with it closer, without a single step of pursuit. Presence over pleasing. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes she's been performing, smiling when she's tired, agreeing when she disagrees, shrinking herself just enough to make others comfortable. That's not connection, that's conditioning. We're taught early that being liked means being safe, that approval equals acceptance. But the truth is, the more you chase approval, the more you disconnect from yourself. When a woman stops performing and starts being present, everything about her energy changes. She no longer walks into a room wondering if people will like her. She walks in asking if she even likes the energy she feels there. That shift is everything. Pleasing others is a survival habit, not a strength. It's the quiet self-abandonment that says, I'll be whatever you need as long as you don't leave. But living that way keeps you small. When a woman finally decides to drop the performance, she doesn't become harsh or unkind. She becomes real. Her words are honest, her boundaries are steady, and her presence is undeniable. She's not louder, just clearer. People feel that. They might not understand it, but they sense the difference. There's something magnetic about someone who's not trying to impress anyone. Being present means showing up as you are, not as who you think others want you to be. It means speaking truth, even when your voice shakes, and standing firm even when your choice makes others uncomfortable. That kind of presence commands respect. You don't have to fight for it, you just have to embody it. When a woman is grounded in her worth, her energy does the talking. She doesn't need validation, applause, or permission. Her authenticity becomes her power. And men, people in general, can't help but be drawn to that kind of energy. Because in a world full of noise, someone who's rooted in truth feels like calm. The woman who chooses presence over pleasing understands something essential. Peace costs nothing, but pretending costs everything. Every time she says yes when she means no, she loses a piece of herself. Every time she stays silent to keep the peace, she sacrifices her inner one. When she stops doing that, she starts to glow differently. Her energy becomes lighter, stronger, more grounded. She learns that she doesn't have to be agreeable to be respected or overly kind to be valued. Respect grows from authenticity, not from accommodation. When she walks into a room, She doesn't seek to fill it with her performance. She fills it with her truth. That's what presence is. It's confidence without arrogance, grace without fear, stillness without passivity. It's the quiet certainty that she is enough as she is right now. No pretending, no pleasing, just presence. And the world feels that difference instantly. Because when a woman stops chasing approval and starts embodying her truth, she doesn't just attract attention, she commands it effortlessly. Energy speaks louder than words. You can tell everything you need to know about a person without them saying a single thing. It's in the way they enter a room, the way they hold themselves, the way they look at you, or don't. Words can lie, but energy never does. A woman who knows how to manage her energy doesn't need to explain who she is. People simply feel it. There's a quiet authority that surrounds her, an invisible presence that says, "I'm not here to compete, I'm here to exist fully." She doesn't demand attention. She naturally draws it, because calm energy always overpowers chaotic noise. When a woman needs attention, her energy feels heavy. There's restlessness in her tone, impatience in her actions, and uncertainty in her eyes. It's not her fault. Most of us are taught to believe that attention equals worth. But when she begins to understand that energy is a currency, everything changes. She starts to spend it wisely. She stops giving it away to people who drain her, to situations that don't deserve her. She becomes selective, intentional, and that shift is magnetic. It's not what she says that captivates. It's the unspoken calm she carries that makes others want to know her story. Men feel that difference instantly. They might not articulate it, but they sense when a woman is centered. They notice when she's not performing, not reaching, not begging to be seen. Her energy doesn't scream, it whispers. It says, "I'm here and I'm enough." That stillness challenges them because it removes the chase for control. When a woman no longer reacts emotionally to everything around her, she becomes unpredictable in the most graceful way. Men don't resist that energy, they're drawn to it. It's the balance of strength and softness, of confidence without arrogance. Managing your energy isn't about pretending to be calm, it's about becoming calm. It's about refusing to let the behavior of others disturb your inner state. When someone disrespects you, you don't need to prove your worth through anger. When someone pulls away, you don't need to chase to feel secure. You stay still, you stay grounded, because you know your energy speaks for you. You understand that silence can be louder than words, and peace can be more powerful than any reaction. A woman who chooses her energy wisely changes how the world responds to her. She doesn't entertain chaos, so chaos doesn't find her. She doesn't seek validation, so she becomes validated by her own stability. She lives from a place of control, not over others, but over herself. And that's what makes her unforgettable, because beauty fades, charm evolves, but energy, it stays. People might forget what you said, but they'll never forget how your presence made them feel. And when a woman carries the energy of peace, strength, and self-respect, she doesn't have to speak much at all. The world already hears her. Emotional independence is one of the most powerful forms of attraction. A woman who doesn't rely on anyone else to feel whole radiates a kind of confidence that can't be faked. You can see it in her posture, in her eyes, and in the calmness she carries through every situation. She isn't waiting for someone to make her feel loved, because she already knows how to love herself. She isn't desperate for attention, because she's already at peace with who she is. That inner stability is rare, and it's magnetic. People are drawn to her not because she's unreachable, but because she's unshakable. When a woman is emotionally dependent, she gives away her power without realizing it. Her mood rises and falls based on someone else's actions. If they text, she feels worthy. If they don't, she questions her value. That kind of emotional instability keeps her trapped in a cycle of seeking rather than being. But when she decides to take her emotional control back, everything changes. She starts to understand that peace isn't something someone else can give. It's something she creates. She learns to sit with herself, to soothe her own storms, to validate her own emotions. That's when she becomes unstoppable. Men can feel that energy immediately. They notice the difference between a woman who clings and a woman who stands tall. The independent one doesn't need him, yet she chooses to share space with him. That choice, free of need, is powerful. It shifts the dynamic entirely. He's not her source of happiness, he's a companion in it. And that subtle change transforms the way she's seen and treated. Because when you don't rely on someone for your emotional survival, you stop being an option. They start seeing you as a standard. This kind of independence doesn't mean she's detached or unfeeling. It means she knows her emotions, but they don't control her. She can care deeply without losing her balance. She can love someone fully and still walk away if the connection starts to cost her peace. It's the balance of empathy and strength, of openness and self-respect. And that's what makes her energy so rare. People aren't drawn to her because she's cold. They're drawn to her because she's grounded. Emotional independence gives her freedom. She's no longer afraid of being alone because solitude no longer feels like emptiness. It feels like strength. She doesn't chase validation because she already carries it within her. She moves through the world with quiet assurance, knowing that her worth isn't tied to who stays or who leaves. And that confidence, that emotional control, is what makes her truly irresistible. Because when a woman no longer needs love to feel whole, the love she chooses to give becomes something sacred, pure, powerful, and free. Stillness creates curiosity. There's something about a woman who isn't always trying to explain herself, prove her point, or fill the silence. She carries an air of mystery that makes people lean in instead of pull away. In a world where everyone is constantly talking, reacting, and oversharing, her calm feels different. She's not withholding. She's composed. She's not distant. She's deliberate. And that stillness draws attention without ever asking for it. Because real power isn't in what you say, it's in what you don't have to say. When a woman is constantly trying to be understood, she gives away her peace. She keeps over-explaining, defending, or proving, and it drains her. But when she learns to sit in stillness, when she realizes that silence doesn't mean weakness, it means wisdom, everything changes. She stops responding to every comment, every text, every emotional trigger. She stops trying to convince anyone of her worth. That's when her energy shifts from reactive to reflective. And people notice that difference. Her silence makes them question. Her calm makes them curious. Stillness has its own kind of language. It says, "I'm not competing, I'm observing." It tells others that she's centered in herself, not moved by every external noise. Men especially feel that. They're used to energy that's emotional, expressive, sometimes chaotic. But when they meet a woman who's calm, grounded, and unmoved by games or drama, it disarms them. They don't know how to read her, and that's exactly why they can't stop thinking about her. Because mystery is not about hiding, it's about mastering. She knows when to engage, when to pull back, when to say nothing at all. That balance is magnetic. The woman who practices stillness doesn't do it as a tactic. She does it as a lifestyle. It's how she protects her energy. She doesn't chase closure from anyone. She doesn't need every conversation to end on her terms. She's learned that peace often comes in pauses, not in explanations. And in that quiet, she becomes her most powerful self. People start to sense it. Her energy doesn't reach outward anymore. It pulls inward. Her silence becomes presence. Her composure becomes attraction. The less she reveals, the more they want to know. Stillness doesn't mean she's emotionless. It means she's emotionally mature. She feels deeply, but she's learned to channel rather than react. She doesn't rush to fill space with words because she understands that silence often says more than speech ever could. In her stillness, she's in control, not of others, but of herself. And that self-control is rare. That's why people lean in. That's why they wonder. That's why they chase what they can't quite define. Because in a world that moves fast, the one who stays calm always stands out. She doesn't chase attention. She earns fascination. And that kind of presence can't be ignored. Boundaries are the quiet strength that define a woman's peace. They aren't walls built from pain, but doors guarded by awareness. A woman with boundaries doesn't push people away. She simply filters who gets to come close. She knows her energy is sacred, her time is valuable, and her attention is powerful. So she no longer hands them out carelessly. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's saying, I know what I deserve, and I will no longer accept what disrupts my peace. That kind of discipline doesn't make her cold, it makes her complete. People often misunderstand a woman with boundaries. They call her difficult, distant, or detached because they can no longer manipulate her. But the truth is, she has simply learned the difference between kindness and tolerance. She can care deeply without allowing herself to be disrespected. She can love fully without losing herself in someone else's chaos. Her boundaries aren't about control, they're about self-respect. They remind her that not everyone deserves access to her softness, her vulnerability, or her silence. That selectiveness gives her presence an edge that few can match. When a woman starts enforcing her boundaries, she changes the dynamic in every relationship she has. People who truly value her will rise to meet her standards. Those who only benefited from her lack of them will fall away, and she learns to be okay with both. She no longer fears losing people because she finally understands that anyone who disappears when you protect your peace was never meant to stay. That realization is liberating. It allows her to stop people-pleasing and start peacekeeping. It allows her to love from strength, not from fear. Men feel that difference deeply. They recognize the woman who won't be persuaded by flattery or attention alone. They see that she listens, but she doesn't surrender her boundaries just to keep someone interested. Her standards become her silent test, not to manipulate, but to measure. The way a man reacts to her boundaries reveals whether he's drawn to her or just drawn to her access. And that's what makes her powerful. Because when she sets limits, she's not being distant. She's teaching others how to treat her. Boundaries don't make her unapproachable. They make her unforgettable. Because she stands out in a world where too many say yes when they mean no, where too many stay quiet just to keep the peace. She doesn't apologize for protecting her energy, and that unapologetic confidence becomes her most attractive quality. There's strength in knowing when to open the door and when to close it, when to give and when to hold back. And that balance, soft yet firm, open yet guarded, is what gives her the ultimate feminine edge. She's not hard to get, she's hard to forget. Because once someone experiences a woman who values her boundaries, they realize they were never drawn to her availability, they were drawn to her self-respect. Everything begins in the mind. The way a woman speaks to herself shapes the way the world responds to her. Her inner dialogue becomes her outer reality. When her thoughts are grounded in fear, insecurity, or self-doubt, that energy seeps into everything she does, her tone, her posture, her choices. But when she begins to master her mind, when she learns to direct her thoughts instead of being controlled by them, her entire world shifts. She starts responding instead of reacting. She moves from chaos to clarity, and that change is felt by everyone around her, even when she doesn't say a word. A woman who controls her inner dialogue becomes emotionally unshakable. She no longer believes every story her mind tells her. She questions her thoughts instead of being ruled by them. When fear whispers, "You're not enough," she answers, "I already am." When self-doubt creeps in, she replaces it with evidence of her strength. That kind of mental discipline isn't easy. It's built through awareness, through practice, through choosing peace over panic every single day. But once she learns it, she becomes untouchable. People sense her calmness, and it disarms them. Her stillness makes others feel safe, yet curious, because while everyone else reacts to the noise, she remains rooted in control. Most people think confidence comes from achievements or appearance. It doesn't. It comes from mastering your internal world. A woman who's centered in her thoughts doesn't need to prove herself because she's already convinced. She doesn't chase validation because she knows her worth isn't up for debate. When she walks into a room, her presence commands attention without effort. That calm authority is magnetic. It's not loud or aggressive, it's composed. And that composure is something people can feel before she even speaks. Men are especially drawn to that kind of mental strength. often without understanding why. It's not about dominance or resistance. It's about balance. A woman who controls her inner world doesn't get pulled into emotional games. She doesn't lose her sense of self in moments of conflict. She listens, she observes, she decides. Her reactions are measured, not impulsive. That restraint makes her unpredictable, not because she's hiding emotion, but because she's mastered it. And that kind of emotional intelligence is rare. It's power disguised as grace. When a woman learns to calm her mind, she learns to calm her life. She stops fighting battles that don't matter and starts focusing on what truly does. She doesn't let external chaos disturb her internal peace. Her strength lies in her ability to remain composed, no matter what's happening around her. And that energy commands respect, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. The more she controls her inner dialogue, the less the outside world controls her. She doesn't chase calm anymore. She becomes it. And that unshakable stillness, that quiet mastery of self, is what no one, not even the strongest man, can resist. Men chase what they can't control. It's human nature to want to understand what feels out of reach, to try to decode what can't be easily defined. When a woman disconnects emotionally, not out of bitterness, but out of self-mastery, she steps into that space of mystery. She's no longer predictable, no longer reactive, no longer bound by the need to be understood. Her calmness confuses people, her distance intrigues them, and her silence speaks in ways words never could. She doesn't give more than what's earned, and she doesn't explain what doesn't need explaining. That restraint, that quiet confidence, becomes magnetic. A woman who has learned not to be controlled emotionally stands apart in a world full of reaction. She's not cold, she's composed. She can care without clinging, love without losing herself, and listen without absorbing chaos. Men feel this difference instantly. They can't quite grasp her energy because she doesn't feed into their expectations. She doesn't argue to prove a point or overgive to keep someone close. Instead, she operates from a place of peace that feels unfamiliar but captivating. That's what draws men in. It's not about games, it's about self-possession. When a woman detaches emotionally, she doesn't pull away in punishment. She simply refuses to be ruled by emotion. She understands that control is not about domination, but about balance. She's mastered the art of responding, not reacting. That composure becomes her power. Men often mistake emotional availability for affection, but they learn quickly that emotional discipline is far more powerful. It makes them want to understand her, to earn what once came easily. It turns ordinary interaction into pursuit because mystery feeds curiosity, and curiosity fuels desire. There's something about a woman who cannot be easily read. Her peace unsettles, her distance challenges, and her lack of need confuses those who are used to control. But the truth is, she doesn't resist for attention. She simply values herself too much to be swayed by inconsistency. She knows that her emotions are sacred, that not everyone deserves access to her softness. And when she moves with that awareness, her presence becomes commanding. Men can't manipulate what they can't predict, and they can't resist what they can't possess. This kind of woman doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. She understands her value is not determined by who stays or leaves. She doesn't withhold affection, but she doesn't overextend it either. She gives with intention and takes her energy back when it's not respected. That kind of self-control isn't about playing hard to get. It's about living in self-respect. And that's what makes her unforgettable. Men may not understand her completely, but they'll always remember how she made them feel, challenged, intrigued, drawn in. Because in the end, the one thing a man can never control is a woman who has mastered the art of her own emotions. And that is exactly why he can't stop chasing her. Peace is the new sexy. It's not the loudest woman in the room who captures attention anymore. It's the one who moves with calm certainty, who speaks softly but with conviction, who carries herself with an ease that says she's not searching for anything outside of herself. Peace has become rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. In a world addicted to chaos, a peaceful woman feels like a breath of fresh air. Her presence soothes, not drains. She doesn't need to compete for attention because her energy already commands it. She's not performing to be seen. She's simply existing in her truth. And that quiet confidence is magnetic. There's a kind of power in peace that words can't fully explain. It's the strength to walk away when something disturbs your balance. It's the grace to let go without resentment, to forgive without reopening doors, to stand still while everything around you tries to pull you off center. That kind of woman doesn't argue for respect. She earns it by embodying it. Her calmness doesn't come from naivety. It comes from wisdom. She's seen what chaos costs, and she's no longer willing to pay that price. That's what makes her irresistible. She values peace more than attention. Men feel that difference instantly. They might not understand it at first, but they sense it. Her energy isn't dramatic or desperate. It's grounded. She doesn't demand love. She inspires it. She doesn't chase validation. She becomes the standard for it. There's something deeply attractive about a woman who doesn't try to fix, chase, or convince. She lets things flow naturally, and that surrender without fear becomes intoxicating. Peace doesn't mean she doesn't feel deeply. It means she's learned to channel those feelings in ways that don't destroy her. That balance of softness and strength is what makes her unforgettable. Peace is not passive. It's powerful. It takes strength to stay calm when someone tries to provoke you, to stay soft in a world that rewards hardness, to choose silence when ego wants to speak. A peaceful woman doesn't need to prove she's right. She doesn't need to win every argument or control every outcome. Her peace is her boundary. And because she no longer reacts to chaos, she rises above it. The people around her either learn to meet her in that calm or they fall away, and she's fine with both. There's nothing more captivating than a woman who's at peace with herself. She's not restless for more, not waiting for someone to complete her, not trying to fill an emptiness. She's content yet ambitious, soft yet strong, quiet yet powerful. Her peace becomes her allure. It's the new form of confidence, the new definition of beauty. Because looks fade, attention shifts, and trends die, but peace endures. And in the end, it's not the woman who shouts the loudest that leaves a mark. It's the one who walks in calm certainty, knowing that her peace is her power, and her power is what makes her unforgettable.